So today we're going to talk about patterns. Life is full of patterns, and those patterns often give us comfort until there's a deviation from the pattern. Then the question becomes, how are you going to choose to respond to that deviation? You can't always control the patterns themselves, but you do have control over how you're going to respond to any deviations from those patterns. For example, how many thousands of times by now have you probably walked into a room, flipped up a light switch, and the light comes on, right? The first time you encountered a light switch and someone said, just flip it up, you probably followed the directions, you didn't think much about it, you weren't really sure what was going to happen, but you did it anyway. And then over time, you began to associate, when I flip the switch, the light comes on. I flip the switch, the light comes on. I flip the switch, the light comes on. And pretty soon you don't even think about flipping the switch anymore. You just think, I want the light on, and you just do it automatically, like autopilot. That's a pattern. You made an association. What happens then if you were to walk into a room and you're flipping the light switch, but all of a sudden the light doesn't come on? And that's a disconnect. It's a deviation from that pattern, that association that you've created in your mind. Now, how do you handle that? Do you freak out immediately and think, oh my God, I've got this big electrical problem and I'm going to have to call an electrician and it's going to be so expensive, and you just go down this negative spiral? Or do you think, wonder what happened? We tried again. No, still doesn't work. Well, maybe it's a light bulb. It's probably something easy. How you respond to that event is determined by your emotional state at the time of the deviation from the pattern. So the patterns themselves are not the problem. It's what is our emotional state when we encounter these deviations from those patterns. And that's what I'm asking you to think about for yourself, to make a commitment to yourself to work on your emotional state. The buzzwords right now are emotional regulation, self-regulation, building resilience. In EMF balancing, we call it the core. In heart math, they call it coherence. Some people refer to it as being centered. It doesn't really matter what you call it. It's just that state where everything kind of lines up and you take that deep breath and you just feel good. And when you're in that state, you are better prepared to be resilient, to bounce back when those deviations and those patterns occur in your life. And of course, I'm not talking about light switches. That's just an example. We build patterns in our relationships all the time, and that's where it gets a little bit more tricky. You might have a certain pattern with a loved one. You have a certain interaction. I do this, they respond this way. I do this, they respond this way. I do this, they respond this way, just like that light switch. Until one day they don't, and they give you a different response, or they begin treating you differently. And then that causes that disconnect. And how you respond to that change in the dynamic in the relationship is going to be driven by what your emotional state is at the time the deviation occurs. Are you feeling pretty confident with yourself? Or are you lacking confidence? Are you in a fearful state? Are you in a peaceful state? Because whatever your kind of state you're in, that's going to severely impact how you respond to the deviation from those patterns in your relationships. If you realize that you are having difficulties in this area, it would be beneficial for you to perhaps seek out some ways of building your own internal resilience, of building your ability to bounce back, of building your ability to create and maintain for extended periods of time that centered feeling, the peaceful feeling, living from your core, or being regulated internally. If you would like help with that, I recommend that you visit my website at sacredinsights.com. You can read about soul whispering, you can read about EMF balancing. Those are my two favorites. I also offer coaching packages, because it really is consistent, small changes, repetition in safe ways that will help you to create that new baseline pattern to help you build your resilience so that you can bounce back more quickly and easily when deviations from your comforting patterns occur. Thank you and have a good day.